Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today for Elle Studio, and it is release day of the June exclusive kit, which is there, as well as the add-ons, and I am sharing with you another 2-page layout. Can you believe it? Two pages in less than a month. So what I'm showing you here is I created a collage. I have four 3x4 photos, and then I have one of the printables that I recolored and put into a photo collage in Photoshop, and I printed that all out. And so what I'm doing now is I'm trimming it down, and I'm sorry that you can't see me trimming it down because I did that off camera. And the reason I kind of did it off camera is because I'm working on a 12x12. In order to see all 24 inches, I needed to shift the trimmer off. I am also working with the new paper pad that is released this month. It's called Summer Fun. It's a 6x8.5 inch paper stack. And because my photos are 4 inches tall and there's 2 of them, there are 8 inches. And so I'm having to trim the paper down to 8 inches, which is absolutely fine. My original intent with this was I absolutely wanted that full sunshine of that pattern paper there. I absolutely loved it. And I was going to stitch it and have the rays come out of the pattern paper. But because of the way that I aligned the photos, you weren't going to see that. And so I decided against that. I have the red and orange and yellow stripes. There's another piece that is the blues and greens, and I'm going to use that as a border on the left hand side, and that is my color palette there. I'm using purple, red, orange, and yellow, which is kind of an unusual color combination and not something that I would normally do, but I really like the way that it pops my yellow shirt that's in the photos there. So originally I had intended for the left-hand side of the 2-page spread to kind of float. It would definitely tie into this very rigid box on the right-hand side, but it was going to be a little bit more free-form on the left-hand side. That evolves and changes as I go. Now, when I do 2-page spreads, I like to have something on the left-hand side that ties into something on the right-hand side. And usually when I go straight across the page, I like something, it's like, you know, when you're writing, you like to have a title page and you like to have a conclusion. And I like to have that in my layouts as well. And so I have these strips that coordinate. And I want that strip on the left-hand side, that's the multicolor strip, to coordinate with something on the right-hand side. And so you can see how it's very boxy and rigid on the right, and you can see it's kind of boxy on the left, but there's that gap that fills in the space. But yet the elements that extend across both pages connect it, as well as the theme of the pictures. And I don't feel that I have accomplished that well enough, which is why I'm kind of going to shift these papers around to try and provide that continuity from right to left. I also am cognizant of the weight of the strips that I'm using to try and use that for unity across the pages as well. And ultimately I settle on using that multicolor rainbow strip on both sides to kind of bookend my layout there. I am going to use this orange twice, and you can't see the full circles, but that's okay because I'm really using it more for the color and the pattern than I am the detail of the pattern that's going to extend there. So most of what's on the right-hand side of the page is actually the digital printables. I will tell you that I want you to come back towards the middle to the end of the month, and I am going to do a tutorial on how to change the printables that you get to work with the colors that you want. So it's using all Elle Studio in Photoshop and how you can reprint those printables or recolor those printables like I did that yellow star there. So the top left, that yellow star is from a printable, and the right-hand side purple is also from the printable, but I left that the color that it was, and then it's just the yellow. That yellow was actually a green, and obviously the green wasn't going to work with this, and I wanted to use it, so I just recolored it yellow. So come back in a couple weeks for that tutorial there. So this is where I go with that stripe to bookend it, and it pulls everything together nicely. So these photos are from a couple of years ago, actually, from 2018. My son and this other lady's son were doing an online class together, and the class was being held by a college, and they are high school students, and you had to go to the college campus in order to take the final exam. It was personal finance. And so this was an hour away from home, and Ruby had brought her bike with her with the intent on doing this ride. I didn't have any plans, and spur of the moment decided to join her. So I was able to just rent a bike and a helmet, and I went off on this ride with her, and it was fun. It was nice to do something spontaneous, and it was a good way to pass the time while the boys, I think we had like 4 hours to kill. So what I've got in my hand there are the June labels. I like to use the June labels as layers. I often will cut them apart so I can use them twice. And what I've got here, I'm going to use the one that says remember this. And that is that orange one. It's kind of an orangey red. I'd call it a blood orange. And I'm going to put that to the left-hand side of the picture there. And that 6x4 photo is of, you can see me, I'm taking it as I'm riding, and Ruby is just to the other side of me as well. And this picture that I'm holding now, this square, it's not quite square, smaller picture. It's of half of my face, and it's the sign of the trail. So we were on the High Bridge Trail at the High Bridge Trail State Park, riding out to this high bridge, and that's the photo, the scenic photo that you see to the right of the one that I'm describing. So this month there are 4 wood veneer sets. One is the 4th of July, which I am not using on this layout, and then here I have a mix of the summer wood veneers as well as the vacation wood veneers. And the one that is on that top left that I'm putting right there says beautiful view, because it absolutely was a beautiful day. It was hot, but it was a beautiful day. And then the one that I put underneath that selfie of Ruby and I on the right-hand page says let's go on a bike ride, because that's what we did, was go on a bike ride. So I have those 2 wood veneers, and those of you know me and know how I scrap know I like to have a trio of things, and I will put that, there will be a 3rd one that comes. So I want to, this is very boxy, and I like to have a couple of elements that sort of, I'm going to say fall off the page, but don't really fall off, but that are malaligned from the boxy to just soften that boxy feel. And so I've got that orange card there that says notes from today, and that's where I want to put my journaling. And I'm going to just put that askew as a layer on top of that purple there. I also want to close up that gap on the left-hand side just a little bit, and so I'm going to use the sun from this month's stamp set. It's called Summer Fun Stamp, and I'm just going to use half of the stamp, so I'm blocking it off with just a scrap piece of paper, and I'm going to stamp that half sun all the way up the edge of the page. And I actually make a mistake here, and I go too far off the page. What I should have done with my scrap paper was lined up the corner, that top left corner, so I knew exactly where the ending was, and then I would not have had the mistake that I had that I needed to cover up, which is fine. It's not, it just ended up being integrated into the design element. And sometimes when you make these mistakes, you can't stress about it, and you just have to make the most of it, kind of like that one there. See, my finger is like, oh, whoops, didn't mean to do that. And I actually will go off camera and I will re-stamp that, because just on top at the bottom you can see how those suns were not quite as bright as the others. So you see, I am committing to this. Now you will see that there are some white spots there, and those white spots drive me absolutely nuts, because it's like this empty gap, and that void needs filling. I either needed to not put the picture going all the way to the right on the left hand side of the page, or I need to see I'm trying to fill that space in there. It's just this, it's not a big white space, but it's big enough that it's annoying, and I'm going to have to do something about that. So I'm using the chipboard stars. I absolutely love these chipboard pieces from Elle's Studio. They are fantastic. They are just the right depth. And I like the way that this is, again, an element that's outside of the box, the rigidity of the box, that kind of just softens the rigidity there. I have that circle that is also from the kit, as well as I'm going to sprinkle a few of the chipboard stars throughout the page to just kind of tie everything together. And I like the way that that circle to the left of me goes with the circle that's in the acrylic bike. That has got to be my favorite piece in this month's collection, are those acrylic bikes. They're so unique. And I like that they're not 5 miles up off the page like a lot of acrylic pieces can be. They're just the right depth. So I'm going to use some liquid adhesive to apply that. I am also going to use pop up one of these labels, and it says yes to this. Again, there's that depth of the bike, and so I want to have depth elsewhere in the page for some symmetry and weight and balance in that 2-page layout. So this is not a sketch. This is me literally just kind of winging it and free forming it as I put this together. I could create a sketch off of it for you, but the problem is it isn't always easy to close off those holes. And in a sketch, I like to have that stuff that cleans that. I like the sketch to be reflective of what it is that I'm doing, and so I am not going to create a sketch of this, but if you would like to lift it, it is absolutely liftable. There's puffy banner stickers, and I thought that I might use them on the page, but they really weren't big enough in order to form a title big enough for the magnitude of this page, so I'm going to skip that. This is another one of those June labels. This is purple, and it says Good Times Together. I thought I might use that to close off that hole there, but I really like it there, breaking up that orange, and so that you just see the color of the orange and kind of fills a little bit of a gap. It's not a white space gap, but it's definitely a gap between the left page and the right page that closes nicely. Those are the summer labels and summer stickers, I'm sorry, and I'm just going to use that one says Fresh Air and Sunshine, and they're a great way to get sort of subtitles in to your layout and be able to have verbiage that is supportive to the topic of your layout. So see that white space, I have got to do something with that white space. So again, from the stamp set, there is a stamp that is just a row of stars, and it is the perfect width to close up that top hole above the view of the bridge and that bottom photo of Ruby and myself there. But I still need something for that larger white space, and this purple card is just perfect for that. So you can see there's still a little bit of white between the two photos, but it's pretty much closed off, and so I am good with that, and I can make that work. So I'm going to use 2 different stamp sets. I'm going to use stamp inks, I'm sorry, not sets, ink from, that is, can't remember what inks I used to be, if I'm being completely honest. One's purple and one's kind of that reddy purple salmon-y color, and that is going to close off those gaps there. And now it's just a matter of the fine details, and I'm going to use the title, Just Ride, and I will do that off camera because I honestly wasn't sure what I wanted to title it, but I knew that that title was going to run up and down the length of the page there. There are links down below if you need to go shopping. You definitely need those acrylic bikes. Be sure to come back later in the month for that tutorial that I was talking about. Enjoy the close-ups. I hope you're doing well, my friends, and staying safe. Take care. Hope to see you again soon.